Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final third. And today we're going to be doing our Matchweek 5 Premier League reaction to the games that happened over the weekend. Um, Games probably closer than we would have thought. Quite a few draws. Not really high-scoring games in terms of one side dominating the other. But it's a very good, close weekend, and sometimes we have very exciting games with loads of goals. Sometimes we have games that are very close, but that is what we've come to expect from the Premier League over the last couple of years. So, very happy, to have close games, which shows how the quality of the league is just sort of diluted throughout every team. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to say, because we are recording on the Monday, and Dembele has just won the Ballon d'Or. Just wanted to congratulate him. Fantastic player, come back from a lot of pain, and now is the best player in the world. Hassan, do you want to reveal the player from the last video?
Yes. So the player from the last video was Ji-sung Park, obviously known to the United community as Three Longs Park. Let us know if you got that in the comments below, and I'll reveal a new player at the end of the video.
Exactly, yeah. Great player, Fergie loved him, but didn't play him in one of the finals, but we don't talk about that.
Yep.
Let's just get straight into the... Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But let's just get straight into the video. Start with Liverpool versus Everton. Obviously, Merseyside derby. Liverpool won 2-1. Close game. What did you think, Hassan?
Look, it was a close game. I think Everton, pressing Liverpool and keeping on the back foot for a long time. Very impressive for what Everton can do. I think most people obviously didn't expect them to, come out the way they have, recently. But obviously with signed players like Grealish, I think Grealish, was very important in that game. He was very good, creating a lot of chances, creating a lot of danger on that side of the pitch. Look, I think Conor Bradley did okay, but I think obviously Grealish is just an excellent player. It's very hard to, stop a player like him from creating chances. And Idrissa Gana Gueye's goal was outstanding as well. Top left corner, absolute rocket, top left. But I think, I just think, Liverpool has not been very convincing in the wins. I think 2-0 is a very dangerous score for Liverpool in general. They haven't been able to keep that lead, consistently. They've lost that at times. They didn't lose in this game as such, but it looked like Everton was going to score a second goal a lot of the times of the game. They got fairly unlucky, and I was kind of, obviously I don't like Liverpool by any means, but obviously, I was spurring Everton on because, they were playing very well, and the football that they were playing was very impressive. You could just see how well they've been trained by David Moyes, and very impressed by them. Obviously, Iliman Ndiaye is also one of the star players at Everton, but I think in that game he was kind of like held down by two players, so it was kind of hard for him to go past and try and create anything. I think Everton in general, all around, very good team. I think obviously you can look at the defense maybe. I think Michael Keane has not been consistent. I think he was kind of pulled back by some of the strikers at Liverpool. I think TK's movements were very, very good. Kind of made it hard for Michael Keane to track him and mark him properly. And at times he lost his man. But I think in general Everton did well defensively. I think Liverpool just quality team. At any chance you give them, they can score easily. I think Ekitike also showed he's world class, and they probably don't need an Isak at this point. And I think that's becoming a talking point. Was Isak worth that money? We'll have to see. But at the moment it's looking like they didn't need another striker. Ekitike is clearly doing the job. And I guess you could say the same about Wirtz as well. Wirtz in that game didn't really see much of him. Obviously he broke the transfer record, first time before Isak came in. I just, for a player like that, I know he's got a lot of talent, and for a player who's worth 100 million, you'd expect a bit more. He hasn't had a great start to the season. He might get a 007, but I think that in general, you just expect more for these players. The players that have been coming here for a high price. Obviously, you have the pressure surrounding your transfer fee and whatever. But I think Wirtz needs to start showing why he's here at Liverpool and start playing well. But I think Liverpool, obviously if they can continue this, they can obviously get the 3 points. That's the most important thing, and try to get that 21st title. But I think that they need to start being more consistent and having more convincing results in general, because they weren't convincing in that win. I think Everton kept on the back foot for a very long time, and I thought Everton would probably come and clinch the game from them, but obviously they didn't. Maybe the defence from Liverpool did really well. I think Konate had a good game. So yeah, I think it's just unfortunate for Everton. They should keep their heads held up high because no one really expected this much from them, and they did pretty well. So yeah, if they can continue playing like this, they can definitely challenge for Europe. I think maybe top 6, top 5. So yeah, we'll have to see. But Liverpool just showing why even when on the back foot they can still get wins, and I think that's the most important thing, the 3 points at the end. But yeah, what about you, Khalis? What do you think?
I predicted it would be a very close game. I predicted the score. I thought that Everton this season looked very bright, and obviously they proved that also in this game. The goal they scored was fantastic. They looked very dangerous. It was a close game. Not many teams go to Liverpool and make it as close as they did. Obviously, a derby, everything's form's going to be chucked out the window for both teams. But at the end of the day, Liverpool seem to be doing what they do best and getting the job done. Not convincingly, but getting the job done, which is the most important thing. Ekitike grabbing another goal, and obviously, like you were saying, Isak looking for the price tag like a waste of money. If we're honest with you, why would you spend 130 million on the player when you've got an 80 million pound player benching him? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just waste of money. You could have bought maybe a backup striker for Ekitike, or a young player to learn off Ekitike, or what I mean. There wasn't really much need to buy Isak, but again, we say that now. You never know. Isak could come in further down the season and clutch up for them in the Champions League, or what I mean. Having quality players in depth is good too for their sake. But I think just spending that much on in one position is not really reasonable. But again, they take the win and they are happy. But we'll move on to the next game. It is Brighton versus Tottenham. Now, it finished 2-2. Probably not the result we expected, but Brighton a bit of a mixed bag at the moment. So, you can't really predict their games. So, what do you think, Hassan?
Yeah, to be fair, you're right. We can't expect Tottenham to win. Obviously, they've had big wins in the season already. But obviously, they've shown as well not to be consistent. They've lost against the likes of Bournemouth. Bournemouth are a great side, but I think at home, especially, you need to, obviously play well in front of your fans. And they didn't do that in that game. Obviously, first 70 minutes, didn't have a shot on target. And this game, they were better. I think obviously they were on the back foot for most of the game. 2-0 down in the first half. But obviously they scored 2 goals. They didn't score 2 goals. One of them was their own goal. But yeah, I think that they started clutching out towards the end. But I think a team like Tottenham should be playing well from the start. I get it, you're away from home and everything, but you need to be more consistent. Obviously, have more dominance in the game. You can't let a team, especially like Brighton. Brighton have been very on and off as well. I think they're both very similar sides in that regard. That's probably why they got a draw. But I think Brighton, obviously, they've had good wins and bad losses, so you can't really expect too much from them as well. I think the best player for me on the pitch was Minte. Minte was great. He was causing a lot of damage in that area of the pitch, and obviously causing a lot of trouble for the defenders there. And he got a goal as well, so it proves that it did effectively work. But I think with Tottenham, you just don't know what to expect from them. Look, I get they got a point in the end, but I think this is a game they should try and win, especially for a team that's made good signings and a team that's obviously trying to challenge for the top 4. They need to be more consistent with these results and try and get big wins, because I think this was a big opportunity for them to try and get up higher up in the table, and they didn't do that. I think they just weren't dangerous enough. I think Brighton kind of damaged them in the counter. I think Tottenham just couldn't handle Brighton for the most parts of the game. But yeah, I think Tottenham's still a good side. You can't write them off. They've got quality players in there. I just think they need to be more consistent. They just haven't had the best form yet. They've had good spells, in some games, but just not been consistent enough or dominant enough for me to suggest that they'll be in top 4. But with the team they have, you'd expect them to be in top 4. But yeah, I guess you have to see. But yeah, I think Brighton as well, good side, good coach as well. Look, Brighton as well, they can win against any side they choose, but I think it also depends on if they turn up on the game or not. If they don't turn up, then obviously they won't get the result. But I just think both sides very similar right now, similar positions, similar type of form as well, and and that's why it made sense for them to get a 2-2 in the end. So yeah, what about you, Khas? What do you think?
Yeah, like we said, both teams are kind of a mixed bag right now. We don't really know what we're going to get. Again, Tottenham are in the phase where they're under a new manager, they're learning the style of play. It looked like it was working very well the first couple games of the season. Obviously, beating Man City, beating Burnley convincingly and all that. But obviously, they had those losses. They had that loss against Bournemouth, and yeah, in this game they probably, it's good it's good they actually got a result at the end of the day. They bagged kind of a late-ish goal. Obviously own goal, but they take it. But yeah, listen, with Brighton, they don't look like the way they're playing last season. They look very inconsistent. I think there was the Brighton manager was talking about Carlos Baliba and how like obviously he is probably their best player, and the fact that his head's not really in the game. He's sort of still kind of thinking about Manchester United. Now, obviously, that's going to affect any player when you get linked to a big club like that. And, obviously, the fact that he's not on form right now is a major aspect of why they're not dominating games the way they usually do. He's such a good, bright player, and that's why Man United wanted him, for the price tag that he was being quoted for. But yeah, listen, there are bright players at Brighton as well. Um, I would say it's probably a fair result, and yeah, I think both teams have room to grow and progress, but at the current moment in time, I think neither of them are looking good enough to sort of push for the European positions in this current moment. But we'll move on to the next game. It's Burnley versus Forest. Finished 1-1. Yeah, not definitely not the result that Forest wanted. Burnley would definitely be happy with the result in the game. But what did you think, Hassan, of the performance in general?
Yeah, I think as you said, Burnley are pretty happy with the result. I think 1 point for them. I guess aside that Nottingham Forest was challenging for Europe last season. It's a decent result against a team like that for them. And yeah, you'd expect Nottingham Forest to have a better performance. Like I get they have a new coach now. They may not be up to scratch right now. Start this and stuff they're not sure about. Just like the team is going through a process right now, and it wasn't easy in the way the manager left. Nuno leaving mid-season wasn't easy for them to deal with, but I feel like obviously getting the early goal 2 minutes in by Williams, that's a very important goal for them. Obviously a great way to start the game, but then obviously they lost that lead after 18 minutes, so yeah, it's just not great. Obviously with early goal like that, you need to kind of build on that and carry on and be more dominant. But they didn't do that. I guess you can say they had a good share of possession, but that's not enough. I mean, it's great if you have the ball and everything, but if you don't do enough to get a second goal, then obviously you're not gonna go anywhere. You're not gonna get the 3 points. I think they did have a lot of chances. A good few missed as well. But I just think Nottingham Forest, yeah, it's just not looking great for Ange right now. Obviously, he's a new manager. He can't expect the best results. You've seen with some managers how they come in and straight away have a great impact on the team. I think he did it at Tottenham actually when he first came in. You can see Tottenham have a style of football and play very well. But I think with Nottingham Forest, kind of different team, different type of stuff going on. So obviously they need a bit more time, to gel in, understand the way Ange wants to play, because Nuno's a very different coach, and I think his style of play is very different, very orthodox, defensive, just a counter team. And now they're pretty much trying to play a high line possession based football, which is going to be a bit difficult for them to adapt to, but with professional players you kind of expect them to learn to play under any coach. But yeah, I think Burnley will definitely take that result. I think they also had a few chances as well, but obviously I think Nottingham Forest should have obviously had a second or third goal, but just not been clinical enough to score. So yeah, that's what I thought about the game. What about you, Carlos?
Yeah, like we said, Forest been very poor this season. Um, I wouldn't even say it's the manager slash player's fault. It's sort of the atmosphere around the club. Um, Obviously their owner having problems with the manager. It's not good for the sort of atmosphere around the club. That obviously clouds everything. There's no guarantee any player can stay. There's no guarantee any manager can stay, as we saw with Nuno. I mean, I think that he was just waiting for a loss like the one they had against West Ham to sort of pull the trigger and get him out, because obviously their relationship was not good. and obviously that's affecting the team on the pitch. You know, the players. I'm not going to say they're not playing for the club and not for the badge, but you know, it's they're not convincing enough at all. And where they were last season, they were very, very good. I don't really know what's happening to them. Listen, it could just be a one-off last season when they did really well, but they have the quality. They do, and it's quite sad to see that they've fallen off this much. Hats off to Burnley. You know, fair play to them for getting another result. You know, they're doing a lot better than a lot of people expected. Not saying they're going to stay in the Premier League at all, but they are getting very good results and giving teams good games. Like, obviously, they only just lost to Liverpool, only just lost to Man United, drew this game. You know, they beat Sunderland. You know, they're getting very good results. So I would say hats off to Burnley, and Nottingham Forest really do need to lock in over the next couple of games. They need to get results very, very soon. Otherwise, it could be very sticky for Ange. Obviously, they probably won't sack him. They only just hired him, but, you know, not ideal start for them. We're going to go on to West Ham versus Crystal Palace game. Now, before we have Hassan say something, I'm just going to read out what Ali said on the chat about this game. If you just give me 2 seconds, let me scroll up to it. Here it is. So, this is what Ali had to say. Bro, this is genuinely what you call haram ball. It is genuinely haram to watch this. It's self-harming. Wish Ward-Prowse got a red card, so I don't have to watch him the next game. He'd probably play Guido Rodriguez anyway. Bro, they need to bring in a good manager. Realistically, the best option out there is Nuno. Potter shouldn't even be managing a PE team, let alone a Premier League team. That is what Ali had to say about the game. Obviously, not a good start to the season for West Ham. Yeah, what do you think, Hassan?
Yeah, I watched the game as well, to be fair. And Crystal Palace, obviously, great result for them, you know, away from home. With West Ham, you can expect them to, you know, have a better performance. I think the midfield has been a problem with them, you know, since the start of the season. You just think, you know, with Potter, how he's starting up the team, he's just not been. It's very clueless. Like, you have like a CDM on the bench, 2 CDMs for that matter as well, and you're playing a number 8 as well as Mateus Fernandes is not known to be a DM in that position, and it's just very confusing. I don't understand. Like, Potter is looking like he's very out of his depth, you know. And I'm speaking for Ali, you know. Like, in my opinion, I think Crystal Palace obviously showed their quality. You know, very good side as well. We know them. You know, they've won 2 trophies from last season. You'd expect them to, you know, have a good result, or, you know, obviously, you know, play a very good game, which they did, to be fair. But I think also West Ham had a good amount of chances as well. I just think, obviously, you know, quite unlucky and stuff. But I think as well the defense wasn't great. A bit of like a couple of errors from like Kilman and stuff, but I think the biggest problem has to be with the manager right now, and it's just the way he starts the team. Look, I don't know what's wrong with him, to be honest. Like, you've bought 2 new defensive mids and you don't play them at all, you don't start them. Like, it's just very confusing, you know. He plays them in the 78th minute of the game, which is very late for me, because I can see from like the first half that they're struggling in the midfield. And obviously Crystal Palace's midfield is very good. You got Adam Wharton and Hughes as well. You know, Hughes he's not a world class player, but he's a very good squad player. You know, he's experienced in the Premier League. He knows how to play in the league and stuff. Adam Wharton is a great talent as well, very physical. You know, Declan Rice type of player. Like, you can't expect to win that midfield battle when you're coming up against those 2 players with the likes of Ward-Prowse. And you're playing Fernandes out of position, you know. He's probably frustrated himself, thinking, why is this coach playing him in that position? It's kind of ironic how there's 2 Fernandes now playing DMs, you know, when they're not supposed to. But it's just, yeah, it's so stupid, you know. I don't get it. Like, it's 2 managers right now who just don't know how to use the right midfielders in the team. Now with Potter, he needs to go back to Hogwarts or something at this point. Like, not even Expelliarmus can save him. Like, he's honestly so clueless. Like, it's just
he needs a Vada Kedavra, I can't lie.
Yeah, like, he just completely out of it. Like, I don't know what to say about him, to be honest. And I think the sack is coming soon, to be honest. I think he's shown no confidence whatsoever in his team selections, and I think the fans are getting even more impatient with him every single game. And you know, it's not a good sign for a manager. And I think, you know, like, of course it's sad seeing a manager go and whatever, but I think sometimes it has to be done, because clearly you can't really see an improvement, you know, in the game. So yeah, it is unfortunate, you know, for West Ham, you know, the way things have gone, especially Jared Bowen. I think Jared Bowen had a great goal. He's kind of been the shining light in a very dark team right now, and Yeah, he's been a great player, and I just think that he deserves better. Yeah, it's just unfortunate for West Ham fans. They must be very frustrated with how the team is playing and the manager decisions. And yeah, I mean, will we see a Nuno in the team? We'll have to see what Ali thinks as well. Because I think he will definitely get results for West Ham, but I don't know if that's what West Ham want to see. That style of football. Because I think they have the players to play a much nicer style of football, but at the end of the day, it's all about the results. You know what I mean? Like, if the team plays good and nice football, that's all well and good. But if you're not getting the results, then does it really matter at that point? Like, I think for me, results are the most important thing, and that's what they're not getting right now. And they definitely need to try and find a coach that suits the players a bit better, knows what they're doing for one, and chooses the right players as well. Because it's just not looking good for them. And the more you see West Ham, the more you're confused about Graham Potter's decisions, and they've been very questionable. So yeah, that's what I'd say on the game. Credit to Crystal Palace, they played very well, and you can't really hate on them for getting the win. What about you, Khalas? What do you think?
Listen, I think that West Ham looked like one of the most unconvincing teams in the league right now, just because they're constantly losing midfield battles. We say every single video, midfield's where it's won and lost. You have a good midfield, you have a good defensive midfielder, and that is the major thing. Especially nowadays in football, the defensive mid has become a much more appreciated position. Look at how Declan Rice is doing very well for Arsenal. I know currently he's not playing as CDM, but obviously the first season, even last season, obviously he was their CDM, so did very well from there. Rodri won the Ballon d'Or from CDM, so you've got to take that into account. Gravenberch for Liverpool, look at how well he's doing, and you can even look at the teams that don't have CDMs in their team, like Man United. They're not convincing either. Crystal Palace, they're winning trophies, and they have Adam Wharton, and he's a fantastic CDM. So that position is very vital for every single team. And West Ham do not have one, or aren't playing one right now. So to be honest, they're not really expected to win anything, especially with the team they're playing. And obviously that is on Potter. And listen, they've got Everton away and Arsenal away as their next two games. Honestly, I can see him losing both. Could be a battering as well, and I think Potter will leave with his tail between his legs. Honestly, it's very, very dark times for West Ham. I feel for them. I really do. They just, I don't even know what's wrong with them. They can field a much better team, but it just looks like Potter's really out of his depth. I don't know what's wrong with him. He was very good at Brighton, and even at Chelsea, he wasn't horrible. He was okay, but obviously that's not what Chelsea wanted. It just looks out of his depth. Listen, West Ham's a mess right now. Previous managers haven't done well. So, let's just see what they do next. And don't take anything away from Crystal Palace, obviously. They've been fantastic. But obviously, West Ham's one of the stories of the season. They underperformed by a lot, and they could definitely be in amongst the relegation scrap by the end of the season. We'll move on to the next game. Talking about another team that are going to be definitely in and amongst the relegation scrap, and that is Wolves vs Leeds. Obviously, Leeds won 3-1 away from home, and it's looking very, very, very scary for Wolves. The manager just signed a new contract, and they've lost their first 5 games. I don't know how that happens. What do you think, Hassan?
Yeah, look, I was pretty surprised by this scoreline. I gave them a draw. I just think that obviously both teams not looking the greatest right now. Obviously, I think Leeds have obviously won a game against Everton, which is actually something. They've won something. But with Wolves, you kind of wanted them to win, just to start off the season. Because they haven't been hit the ground running at all. Like, they just had nothing to write home about. Just no good performances. I mean, they've had one good game, I think. Don't remember who it was against, but I think they scored 2 goals in that game. But I just think they haven't won a single game, and that's very scary for them. I know Wolves are not the team they were last season. I know they lost key players, but that's not an excuse for how they played. At the start of the season, not getting a single win is very scary. I think they've lost every single game, not even a draw. So that is very scary times for them. And getting a coach like that who's obviously not confident, not playing to the best of the team's ability. I think Wolves can definitely do better, and they're not doing that at the moment. And I think obviously extending a coach's contract who's not doing well for the team whatsoever is a bit of a naive move for them. To be honest, I think that they should have waited a bit longer, until to extend this contract, because now they have, if they want to terminate his contract, they will get a huge payout. So not only they'll lose a lot of money, they'll also waste a lot of time, and then they have to find a new manager and stuff. Look, if they try and get Nuno, for example, that'll be great for them again. He was good for them, but I think that probably with how it went last time for them, I don't think he will probably join. But I think they need a better coach who knows what they're doing. The coach doesn't have enough experience. And look, it could be down to the players as well. I think obviously they lost a lot of quality, but yeah, just Wolves, it's not great for them at all. Look, credit to Leeds as well. We kind of wrote them off as well. We thought that they're not gonna provide a good game, but I think they brought a good game. And I think Wolves were the more dangerous side. I just think Wolves just not clinical enough. That's been the main problem since the start of the season. Look, they have the quality. They have Strand Larsen. They have the likes of Hwang Chan as well, but just not been great for them. I think they had a different striker in this game, and I don't know why he didn't play any of those strikers that he has in the bench. So yeah, it was very confusing. The manager is not inspiring a lot of confidence in the team, and you can see that when they're playing. And Leeds, they showed it. They did well. The likes of Longstaff and Stash as well, they played very well. Calvert-Lewin as well, experienced Premier League player. He's been off it for a while, but due to injuries and stuff, but showing his class again. He's got his quality. He's able to score big goals for teams, and just showing his worth. And Leeds, credit to them. Good win for them. And as a Leeds fan, you hope that this continues for the next games, and they don't get demoted to the Championship. But that's my take on that game. What about you, Carlos?
I am very worried for Wolves. Losing 5 games in a row. I mean, 3 in a row was a worry. 4 in a row was horrible, and now it's 5. This is a game I said that Wolves needed to win if they would want to have any hope of staying in the Premier League. They've got to go to Tottenham away now, and then they've got to play Brighton. The Prem does not get easier; it gets harder. This is one of the teams where you have to take advantage. Like, I know you were probably the better team on the day, and you probably just weren't clinical enough. But you have to be clinical in these games if you want to stay in the league. It's as simple as that. You can play good football all you want, but goals win you games. That's just how it works. Wolves fans have to be very worried at this point. It's very dangerous. They're in a position where they've just given their manager a new contract. He's not started the striker who got a new contract. It's looking really, really strange, dangerous, whatever you want to say. Any of these words work. I'd be worried if I was a Wolves fan. But for Leeds, great win. 3-1, probably against the run of play. But they take it. They weren't. They were very clinical with the chances they had. So they definitely take it. There's not really much I can say. If I'm honest, I didn't really watch the game, but it's a great result for Leeds. Obviously, another one of those teams where, every season we think it's the promoted sides that are going to get relegated straight away. They're giving it a good go. It's been 5 games, and they're all getting wins and they're all getting good results here and there. So, should be very interesting to see what the league table will look like near the end of the season. But right now, it's starting to have a very nice shape to it, and you don't know where anybody's going to finish, except for Liverpool, because they're winning all their games. But, other than that, it's very interesting what is going to happen for the rest of the season. Now, we're going to move on to Manchester United and Chelsea. Probably the strangest game you're going to see this season. A lot happened. Both good and bad. Mostly good for us. Hassan, what did you think of the game?
So before I actually talk about details, surrounding the game, can I just say how shocking that officiating was? That refereeing was probably one of the worst displays of refereeing I've seen in my life. Look, I get it for the first red card for Robert Sanchez. Came off his line, obviously tackled the player. That's a stunning red card. I don't know why he took so long to think about it. Obviously, when decisions go for us or whatever, like something like that happens, obviously I'm going to scream for a red card, but anyone with a brain can tell that's a red card. You know what I mean? Like, he comes off his line, he denies a goal scoring opportunity. He's the last man. So yeah, like, that's an easy red card for me. And
Just to make a point as well, Enzo Maresca, you could see his reaction. He knew it was a red card.
Yeah,
So
he knew he was going to be off. So yeah, and also about Maresca as well. After that red card, he completely lost his head. I don't know what he was thinking. Taking off Palmer, Esteval, and Neto as well. Like, very confusing substitution choices from him. You know, I get you lost a player. It doesn't mean you have to change the whole attack and basically bring on like two midfielders or whatever. Like, it's just very confusing. And I think that's probably what made United win the game, just from that head loss alone. But look, you know, I think United started off very well, very aggressive. And we got the 2 goals, you know, because of losing that man, which is obviously what you want to do when you have that 1-man advantage. And you know, unfortunately for us, you know, Casemiro got that second yellow, which was a very harsh second yellow in my opinion. He doesn't do a ridiculous tackle. It's just a normal foul if you want to give it that. To me, it's not a foul. Look, he does get a hold of the player, but I think the Premier League, you know, you kind of let off with those things. You know what I mean? It's more a physical, intense league, so the referee should kind of let off, you know, let the game flow and whatever, because it looked like we're going to go on the attack and, you know, might score a goal or whatever. And for you to give a second yellow based off that is ridiculous, in my opinion. He had to think about it, and then he gave him the second yellow. Look, I think Amram in that moment in time, when Casemiro gets a yellow, you kind of have to sub him off, because we know Casemiro is very hot-headed. He can, you know, get into problems and whatever. So, you know, you want to sub him off as soon as possible so he doesn't get a second yellow, and he did. It's just something against referees with Casemiro, to be honest. I don't know why. He just attracts all the wrong attention from them, and he just gets sent off for the stupidest things. But look, yeah, I think after we got sent off, the game just became very, very rough and weird, and just, yeah, it just didn't become a game like at all. Like, it was just, you didn't know what to expect from it anymore. And like, obviously Chelsea come back and score a goal, which isn't great, you know, because at that point it's like, you know, alarms are like, how to say, like, just like,
ringing,
you're just panicking.
Yeah.
You're just ringing. Yeah. It was alarm bells are ringing, like panicking and everything. Like, most United fans are just waiting until the 90th minute just for us to finish the game or whatever. Because, like, I think he gave 7 minutes additional time, and, you know, I found that ridiculous, to be honest. But I think as well as because the pitch became very wet. You know, you see people start sliding in for tackles and whatever, and you see the.
We mustn't forget it's been raining.
Yeah, we mustn't forget that as well. Yeah, but it's like, it's not an excuse I want to make, as in, like, that's why we didn't play that well. I think in general both teams played really bad because of the weather. I think the weather just obviously had a very negative effect on the pitch. You can see players sliding in, you know, go for dangerous tackles. But I think the referee, like, every tackle for him was a yellow card. It was ridiculous. Like, it's just, you don't know what goes through people's heads. And look, and I think about Amram, I think we have to talk about him as well. You know, great win for him. I think that is going to relieve a lot of the pressure from him, and that's what he needs, because he's been under fire for a while now. People not believing in the system, you know, trying to blame the formation or whatever. I think that's bullshit, in my opinion. I think that, you know, you could try to blame the formation all you want, but at the end of the day, the players got to step up and play well. Which they showed a bit of heart in this game. You know, De Ligt being one of my favourite players in that game, obviously, you know, showed a lot of encouragement in the defence. You know, tried to go for tackles. You know, very physical. Bruno as well. I think in that game, you know, people question his captaincy and whatever, but I think that was a captain's performance. Obviously, scoring a goal is very important, but I think as well he demanded a lot from the team, and that's what you need to do as a captain, especially against a side like Chelsea. You know, they could come back at any time. They have quality players, especially like João Pedro. I think he played very well. He's very hard to take the ball off him as well. But yeah, I think Amrim just had very questionable substitutes as well. You know, taking off Sesko, you know, your main man up front, he was kind of crucial for the red card. You know, not very good at all. Like, I just think Amrim's, you know, lineups and also his substitutions has not been great. They were great last season. I think he made very good substitutions last season, but I think this season has been a bit weird. But yeah, just, I don't know, with Amram, to be honest, I do want to believe in him. I do want him to be the man to take us forward and be the man, you know, to win the Premier League again for us, but you just don't know with Amram, to be honest. And I do want him to do well, but I just want him to learn from his mistakes. Like, I think the one mistake he's keep on repeating is playing Bruno in midfield. I think that needs to stop as soon as possible. That was the one game where he had the chance to, you know, start Bruno in the number 10 position and play Kobe Mainu. But I don't know what is with, you know, Amram and Mainu. I don't know. It seems like they've had a beef or something. It's just Amram just doesn't want to play him. I don't understand. Like, why not start probably your best midfielder? Just doesn't make sense to me at all. But it is what it is. At least we got the win. End of the day, we take the 3 points, and that's the most important thing for us. We just got to build on from this and hopefully have a good run of form, because we haven't had that since the start of the season. Not really had a good run of form at all. And that's all I had to say about the game. What about you, Carlos?
For me, I think that Manchester United probably deserved the win in the end of the day. I think the first half performance was very good from them. Obviously, the second half for Chelsea was good, but let's be honest, Bayindir didn't really get tested. I mean, the one goal they scores from a very good cross by Reece James, which we know he's got the quality to do, and obviously good header by Chalobah. I don't really think he could save it, but maybe make more of an effort to try and go for it. You know what I mean? But
it was on Euro, to be fair. I'd say Euro was that mistake.
I wouldn't blame it on him.
Because honestly, like he missed his man. Obviously, like that's his man, and he didn't jump for the ball at all. And I think relying on Ahmad to mock the back post is a bit
I'm gonna say I just think it's a great header. It's a great header. I can't lie. He jumped very high. It was convincing. Listen, it is one goal, and ideally, listen, we talk about this every single game. Manchester United look very good in the first half. Look like they can score so many goals. Look dangerous, and they don't take their chances. They only get 0 to 2 goals.
We just make it harder for ourselves, honestly.
Yeah, we don't take our chances, and we create a lot of them this season. We had probably the most expected goals. Not probably. We have had the most expected goals, but we've underperformed it by over 4 goals, which is incredible. I will say one point as well. Obviously, De Ligt was fantastic. Brian Mbeumo, yeah. I said he was going to be the signing of the season. I'm not saying he is, but what I'm saying is the difference between what we had before to what he is, it's unbelievable. You can see the quality of that guy. Like, okay, he didn't get a goal or really an assist, but you can just tell he's direct. He's a player that is really quick. Obviously he won the red card, and that's from his explosive pace, and obviously I think he would have scored. He probably would have gone past Sanchez if he didn't take him out. And at the end of the day, listen, with Sesko as well, I feel bad for the guy. He's not getting chances. I think if he gets maybe a chance, he can, and if he gets a goal, I think he can build his confidence. And I think from now on, I'm not saying he's going to get chances. I just hope he gets a goal soon. So for his confidence sake, if he goes on a longer period, like if you remember, Rasmus Højlund went on well without getting a goal, and then when he got a goal, he went into good form. When you have confidence, you're a good player. There's a reason why you sign for Man United, But obviously, he hasn't got that goal yet. Hopefully, he can get it in the coming games. But apparently, we've had the hardest first 5 games of the season, and we've done relatively okay. If you look at it, we beat Chelsea. Okay, Burnley is probably a must-win. Fulham, you could probably say it's a fair result. Draw. It's not an easy game away from home. And Arsenal and Man City losses, you probably expect it because they're both challenging for the title, and we're coming off the back of finishing 15th. We've got to take everything into perspective. We're a team that just finished 15th, and we're not bad, in terms of our position right now. I see a lot of room for improvement, like you say, in terms of formation, in terms of players. He played a very ballsy lineup. I remember talking to Hassan before the game. The lineup really annoyed us, but again, we said if he gets the win, he gets the win, and he did. So you got to give his plaudits there. Also, Mateus Cunha, again, he comes on just quality. Listen, the signings he's made this season look great. Sesko needs more time to embed. Obviously, Lamens hasn't played a game yet. If you back Ruben Amorim, I think he can do well. And with the Kobbie Mainoo situation you were talking about, he subbed him on for Bruno. That's probably the first time I've seen Bruno get subbed off. And I think it's going to be one of those things where I saw Marco on his morning show today. I think this will be the start of, embedding Kobbie Mainoo in and giving Bruno less game time, because we have a reliance on Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, he scored a great team goal. And we do rely on Bruno Fernandes a lot, but I think we want to ease in Kobbie Mainoo. I think we're expecting to move on Bruno Fernandes in the summer. So we want to, be smart with how we use him. So that is what I have to say on the game. I could say so much more, but we do have more games to look at. And the next game we are looking at is Fulham versus Brentford, and Fulham won that game 3-1. I think we expect Fulham to win this game. Listen, Brentford doing well this season, but Fulham getting a win. And yeah, what do you think, Hassan?
I think I might predicted Brentford to win, which is a bit of a rogue choice. I think it was 2-1. I think I predicted, but yeah, look, I think Fulham, obviously, great result for them. I think Wobie had a great game, goal and assist. That's always good. Look, I think Fulham, obviously, they're a side that has shown to be quite competitive. They've had decent results against big teams. With United, they've drew with us, and I think I don't know who they play against as well, but they did play well. If I have to double check, I think as Chelsea. Obviously, Chelsea they lost, but I think
Brighton, they got a last minute equaliser.
Yeah, but I think as Chelsea, even that loss wasn't really a deserved loss. I think they had a goal disallowed, and that kind of affected the whole mood of the game. Manager lost his head too, so developed more frustration. But yeah, look, I think Fulham played a great game. Obviously, just showed the class. They've been in the Premier League for a while now, so they just shown that they have the experience now. They got the players to do that. But Leno, obviously, great goalie as well. Made a few stops for them. Look, I think Brentford, obviously, you can't really expect too much from them. I think they've been in a difficult position, losing their key players. It's never a great start for anyone. But they still have players like Henderson. Jordan Henderson has been a good player for them, bringing in that Premier League experience. In the midfield, obviously losing that with Norgard, you need to bring in another experienced player to make up for that. And they have pretty much, but I think they probably lost their head in that game, Brentford. I think an own goal as well. Own goal obviously means that they've just not been confident in defence. They do have Kelleher. Kelleher is a great goalie, but I think in general the team does need a bit of juicing up. I don't think they have the players to consistently perform each game. Look, they've had decent games to be fair, but I think in order for them to be how they were before, they do need to make up for the loss of players that they had from last season. Look, I think that Mbomo and Wissa, they were great attackers for them, and that's been hard for them to score goals because of that. Look, I do think they're a decent team regardless. Look, they're not like relegation team by any means, but I think obviously Fulham just show their class. They just have more quality, and you'd expect that from what the type of players that they have. And yeah, that's all I can pretty much say about the game. Credit to Fulham, and yeah, that's what I got to say. What about you, Carlos?
Yeah, you could probably say it was quite a close game as well. Like we were saying, it's been the moral of this weekend. Very close games, a team not really dominating. Again, like the thing is with Fulham, they were more clinical in this game where they took their chances. And that's it really, Brentford, again, they look kind of bright. They have a squad where they have a good mix of experience and youngsters, and that's what you need in the Premier League. Yeah, with Fulham, they have good young players, like you were saying, Josh King. Kevin is another player that I think he can be a massive point of difference for them. I actually don't know how long he played for in this game, but I know he came off the bench and, is probably a very impactful player. But, I think that it's a great result for Fulham. They needed this. And listen, Brentford probably shouldn't be too worried about it, but they kind of do need to push for results and against these type of teams. Like we said, Fulham are a good team, but Brentford obviously need to sort of get the results because they don't want to waste what you've sort of done so far this season by losing to teams that are, not very convincing themselves. You've got to make it a better game than that. So, very good result for Fulham. We'll move on to the next game, and that is Bournemouth versus Newcastle. I'm pretty sure that game finished 0-0, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it did.
Yes, it did. Boring game. What can we say? 0-0, probably sums up the game. What do you think, Hassan?
Yeah, it was 0-0 to be fair, but I think Bournemouth were the better side. Look, I think I said that after the Newcastle and Barcelona game that this loss for Newcastle can really affect them mentally, and it kind of proved that to be fair. Just they didn't play very well that game. Look, I think Newcastle are a good team. They've made good signings. For the loss of Isak, for example. But I just think they've just not been great in the Premier League. I don't think they've been great at all. Look, they've had a couple of wins. Good for them, but I think they were a shadow of the team that they were last season. I think last season they were a team that could obviously threaten any team. Beat the likes of PSG in the first half of the season. In the league, the league format of the Champions League. And yeah,
that was 2 seasons ago.
or was it 2 seasons ago? Feels a long time ago, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Newcastle just not been great. What can I say? Like just not been very dominant, not been great attacking wise as well. Yeah, as I said, lost Isaac, whatever, but just not been enough creativity as well. Like not creating enough for the strikers. Voltemada and Murphy are not bad attackers by any means. So you do need to create chances for them if you want them to score. And I don't know. Just with Eddie Howe as well, his formations are a bit weird as well. He can change it up a lot. He goes usually from a full back to a free back. It's a bit confusing, But yeah, Newcastle are a good side, but it's just and you'd kind of back them to win. But obviously Bournemouth, we know them; they're very good. The star play is excellent. They've got good players like Semenyo, Evan Nilsson's a good player. The defense in general is very good. I think the goalkeeper as well that came from Chelsea as well, Petrovic. All round very good team. The start football is excellent as well. So yeah, not really bad things to say about Bournemouth. You kind of back them to win this game. If you're watching the game the way they were playing, because I think Newcastle are playing with confidence. As I said, back off that result in the Champions League, they're probably feeling a bit down. Not feeling full of themselves, nothing like that, no confidence. So yeah, I mean, obviously when you get dominated like that by Barcelona, it's not going to be a very good, inspiring, thing for them. Obviously Rashford scored 2 goals against them, not great for them, but it is what it is, and they got to just pick up the pieces and try and play better, because I think Newcastle have had a great start to the Premier League. They need to start playing better, but not been an excellent game for both sides. What about you, Carlos?
I did expect Newcastle to win based off the fact that they have, I don't even know why I said that, to be honest with you. I think they just have a much better midfield, but they rotated heavily, which impacted the game, obviously. Bruno Guimaraes didn't play. Joe Linton didn't play. They were both on the bench. Alanga, who was probably their most dangerous player against Barcelona, looks very, very impactful, quick, created lots of chances. Harvey Barnes didn't play. And obviously, Gordon had the red card from the Liverpool game, so he couldn't play this game. Yeah, like we said, it was a heavily... That obviously had a major impact. And again, I think Bournemouth were at home and were the better side. They had dominated most parts of the game. Sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you. I would say that, at the end of the day, probably a draw is kind of fair, because, again, we talk about being clinical. You need to be clinical in these games. Bournemouth should capitalise on the opportunities. Obviously, Newcastle coming off the back. It's not, beating a... What's the catchphrase? Not catchphrase, the phrase that the people say, beating anyways, they should be going for the dead animal, how predators go for
being the dead horse. That's what you mean.
Yeah, that's the one. I was gonna say being the dead squirrel, but that's obviously not right.
We got there in the end.
I don't know. Yeah, we got there in the end. Listen, they got to just take their opportunities against a team that's down. Missing a lot of players, and have a couple of young players in the team too, and players that aren't very experienced. So, I think it's probably a better result for Newcastle. I think they probably were expecting, not to get a result. I think that's why he rotated so much, because they know Bournemouth are very good. But again, very good result for them. Bournemouth probably should have done better and got a win, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, that's how it ended, and that's how she wrote, as people say. We'll move on to the next game. Sunderland vs Aston Villa. Finished 1-1. I think it's a great result for Sunderland. Obviously, they got that early-ish red card and still got a result. So, what did you think?
Like you said, great result for them. Sunderland have been a team that's blown, every person's expectations, to be fair. Look, they've made great signings, Mukiele and Xhaka being, the 2 key players for me. But look, I mean, they're all playing at home, but I think obviously Aston Villa have not been the greatest side this season. But with the team of that stature and how well they played last season, you kind of expect them to get a result. I know Sunderland are a good team this season, but a team like Aston Villa kind of needs to get results. They've not been starting the season very well. Look, they did open up the scoring first, but I think that's not good enough. They need to, finish on a high as well, not finish on a low. I mean, they did get a point at the end of the day, but I don't think a point is good enough for Aston Villa expectations. And yeah, just not been a great season for them at all. And credit to Sunderland, they were losing 1-0 and then they equalised after like a few minutes. So yeah, especially with a man down, you got to respect that and give credit to them. Yeah, look, I know Villa's under a lot of scrutiny right now, especially under Emery and stuff, but you can't really blame the man. He's not been backed enough. I think that he needs the players. He's lost a couple of players that, he might have wanted to keep, like Asensio and Rashford. I think they were good, for the first part when they first joined for Aston Villa. And players like Morgan Rogers, he was great last season, but you can't always rely on one player to, always perform week in, week out. Like the team in general has to be, good in general. But yeah, look, it's not a terrible result for them, but I think that, they should definitely, start playing better because, it's not looking great for them. They're like at the bottom half of the table, basically in relegation zone right now. So, for a team like Aston Villa, that is very surprising and, not what you'd expect from a team that, came out of that season, being pretty decent, got far in the Champions League as well and lost to the winners. So, yeah, like, it's just, it's very sad to see, but it's part of football, when you don't get backed enough, you don't put enough investment in the team, this can happen, and Sunderland's shown that if you do right to make investments, then you can definitely start playing very well and, play against the big teams. I think Jack had a great game as well, captain's performance, assist as well, bringing experience to our midfield, he's a great player. Obviously, he's won the Bundesliga with Bayer Leverkusen, so he knows what it's like to win the league. So yeah, that type of experience could definitely transform a team completely, and that's what's shown right now. And credit to Sunderland, well fought point, for them, with 10 men especially, and for Aston Villa, not looking great, but it could be worse. What about you, Carlos?
Again, I think another club that should be very worried is Aston Villa. They're not performing. What more can you say? The players that they had were performing last season, like Morgan Rogers, is not performing this season. I see loads of people talking about how there's favoritism in the team and how he just constantly plays Rogers even this season. There is a lack of quality. I mean, Jadon Sancho games and he started against Brentford and it's looked very bright for them. So he'll probably start to get game time for them, and you never know to be an important player. I don't know. They're missing that flair in the team. Like we said, Marco Asensio and quality footballers. Players with like heavy names. These guys play for big clubs, Manchester United, and Real Madrid, and PSG as well. Obviously Rashford playing for Barca now. Players of top quality. Obviously, weren't able to keep hold of them, and I mean, yeah, you can see the difference it makes where you don't have quality in the attack. You're not able to take your chances because they really and truly should have won this game by a good amount. Because obviously Sunderland are playing with a man down, but don't take anything away from Sunderland. I said this at the beginning of the season. I think they're fantastic, and they're a major reason why Sunderland are so well. Especially in this game, they've spurred their team on to sort of get a result. Obviously, they even went a goal down to come back and, get a result. Being a man down so early on is fantastic on their part. But yeah, Sunderland looking great. Aston Villa looking scary, but in a bad way. Scary in the worst way possible for them. You should be a bit worried about that. I think Aston Villa should be very worried about the next couple games. They do need to sort it out and lock in, because again, it's looking dangerous because any team can beat anyone. It doesn't really look like Aston Villa are doing anything special in particular. But we'll move on to the final game, and that is Arsenal versus Manchester City. We said the game of the weekend, and it was a very interesting one. An early goal and a very late goal. So what did you think, Hassan?
Interesting game to say the least. I think, two great goals, to be honest. I think Haaland just on form right now, playing very well. Not much to expect from a player like him. He's a player that's been in a Ballon d'Or rankings, and he's been very great. Broke like a few records as well. Haaland's top class. Can't deny that at all. And he was a problem for Arsenal's defense, like I'd say in the first half probably. But after that, obviously, defense for Arsenal stepped up. A couple of players in defense, coming back from injury. So obviously, they weren't up to scratch. But then, once they, warmed up in the game. They got a bit better and stuff. But I think, yeah, very cagey game, to be fair. You'd kind of expect Arsenal to, win the game, being at home and whatever. They were on the back foot for most of the game, or they just weren't doing enough. And I expected a win, to be fair, and they kind of disappointed me in that regard. But, it's Arsenal. What do you expect? They haven't shown to win against the big sides like City and Liverpool, and that's worrying for them. Like for a team that's challenging for the title, you kind of want to win against these big teams, and they haven't done that so far. So, yeah, Martinelli's goal was class. Like the chip over the goalie and doing as Donnarumma of all goalkeepers is impressive. He came on instant impact. Look, I've said about Martinelli from last game, very underrated player. I think he's overrated as well. Starting to, I think once they brought in that left wing, Eze, for example, he started to have a bit more competition in that position, and that's great. That's exactly what you want when you bring a player like that into the team. It creates more competition outside. You have the player that was there before, playing better, and that is great. But I think for Arsenal fans, maybe a bit of frustration going on. Look, they might have had a fair few, they might have had possession and whatever, but just for Arsenal's sake, you kind of want to win, these games, against the big teams, trying to like convince yourself that the season is theirs. But, it's not looking like they will win the season, like you do need to win against the big teams for you to, have that effect. Look, the season's not over, but I think Liverpool and how well they've started off the season is going to be difficult. I think they're like a few points clear from everyone now, 5 points already, which is crazy. And, not something that people expected, but with the signings that they made, it's not really a surprise. But yeah, not looking great for Arsenal. Not creating enough chances for Gyökeres. Look, Gyökeres is a brilliant striker. We all know that. And you're just leaving them to rot. Same issues at United as well. Just leaving the likes of Šeško and Gyökeres just leaving to rot. What's the point? Like, you have a striker there, who's capable of scoring goals, and you're just letting him sit there and do nothing the whole game, which is not fair on him whatsoever. And I think I've watched a couple of clips from Arsenal fan. Or Arsenal fan TV as well. I know like Lee Judges as well. He's very frustrated at Arteta. And look, we spoke about Arteta as well. His style play is not that pleasing on the eye. Not been convincing. The style play, and it's not been great at all from Arteta. And I think he's going to be under a lot of scrutiny if he doesn't win anything this season. I think Arsenal given a lot of chances, a lot of backing as well. So this is his chance to definitely show that. And if he doesn't show that, then it could be a problem for him in the future for his job. I think Arsenal can't settle for second place, especially after the signings that they made. They kind of need to win the league, and it's been long coming for them, being second place like 3 times in a row. So yeah, not great for them, but season ain't over. Still first half of the season, so yeah, just gotta give it more time and see how it goes. What about you, Khals? What do you think?
Pep has changed the style of play. Major headline, He's become the new Sam Allardyce, so become the new Sean Dyche, It's honestly, I never expected it from Pep. I don't think anybody did. The way he changed the style of play. I think this is the first time I've ever seen Man City have less than 40% possession in the game, 33%. Yeah. Obviously, against Arsenal, it's maybe against, if it was any other team, you could say fair enough, but it is Manchester City. Even when they're in the worst vein of form, they always have more possession than most teams. So yeah, it was very strange seeing that. 10 men behind the ball, the 10 outfield players behind the ball, and they really, really tried to defend it. I don't know it's really strange, Usually seeing Pep play his style of play where he likes to attack. I think he was just going there to get a result, and obviously he did, but obviously conceding that last minute goal. Obviously kind of poor Donnarumma coming off his line and, not putting the best light on himself. But great finish by Martinelli. He's looking like a great super sub. Maybe that is what he is. I think he's a great super sub. I don't think he's a starting left wing. But he is a great super sub, and obviously he's clutching up. Obviously he did it against Athletic Club, and he did it again today. I think Arsenal can be happy with the result in this game because, again, they didn't really weren't really convincing in the sense that they didn't really make a lot of great chances, like you said, for Gyökeres. Listen, you've got to make chances for Gyökeres. He's a great striker. Don't misuse him. But again, also another thing is he didn't start Eze in this game. That really surprised me. He's one of the most dangerous players. He's one of the most dangerous players in the Premier League. Not starting him can, cost you. And obviously, you went 1 goal down. And when he comes on, he gets the assist for the Martinelli goal. So listen, end of the day, I think it was a fair result. Haaland's looking great. I mean, the goal he scored was great. Obviously, we talked about Martinelli, and Madueke got an injury too. Not ideal. I think Saka is starting to come back, if I'm not mistaken. He's on the bench.
He played in the game.
Saliba,
I'm pretty sure.
he came off the bench, I think, yeah. Again, listen, I think don't rush your players back and, don't make the same mistake with Madueke. If it's a bad injury, I mean, I saw some news that it could have been an ACL, but apparently it's, which thank God for his sake. He's been very bright for Arsenal this season. We don't wish injury on any player. But it's good for them that Saka's coming back, so at least they have that replacement coming in for. I think it's a good result for Arsenal and probably even Man City too. Not really much I can add on the game, to be honest. That's it. That is the results of last weekend. Again, like we said, very close games, and we're looking forward to the next weekend, which should be a bit more interesting, hopefully, in terms of hopefully more goals being scored. Before we go, we got to do 2 more things, being the quiz. Hassan, if you want to go ahead and read the quiz out for us.
Yep. So before I say this, disclaimer, Ali, if you're watching this in the editing, you might not like this one. It's 2 facts against West Ham, so just as a disclaimer. The first fact is he became the first defender in Premier League history to reach 5 goals and 15 assists in a single season, 2010 to 2011 season. Second fact is he scored 2 penalties in 1 match against West Ham in 2013, the first Everton player to do so in the Premier League. The third fact is he is one of only a handful of defenders to record 50+ Premier League assists. The fourth fact is that he once scored 2 direct free kicks in the same game against West Ham in 2013. Fifth fact is he turned down a move to Manchester United in 2013, choosing to stay loyal to Everton. Those are the 5 facts. Let us know in the comments who that player is, and we'll reveal it in the next video.
I mean, it looks like it wasn't just about West Ham. You might have to add a bit of Man United, but
Look, I didn't choose the facts. That's what I'm going to say.
That's it. Again, should be interesting if you guys can guess who that is. Obviously, leave it in the comments below. And the last point I wanted to make, we're going to just put up the leaderboard somewhere. It's looking interesting, again, you just can't predict the games. You just don't know what to expect. Like, if you go off this weekend, I'm going to go, let's say, low scoring, and you never know. I mean, there's Man City versus Burnley. You probably expect them to win that by a lot. Chelsea versus Brighton, Man United versus Brentford. All these games, you don't know what to predict. So, it's a very exciting season. We can't predict the results. It shows that the league is unpredictable, which obviously is what all the fans want to see. But that is the end of the video. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for coming by. Thank you guys for interacting. Please leave a like, subscribe, turn on your notification bells so you know when we upload videos. And please take care. See you on the next one, guys.
See ya.